Welcome to Podsdale, where we explore the stories that make Scottsdale truly special. I'm your host, Holly Walter from the city's Office of Communication. Join me as we learn what makes Scottsdale tick. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And this episode is going to be an exciting one because our guests today are representatives from outside the city, but one of the city's important partners, and that is Scottsdale Sister Cities. Today, as our guests, we have Raul Guevar. He's the director at large of Scottsdale Sister Cities. And then we also have a student, Payton Connelly. She is a junior at Arcadia High School, and she's going to share her experience with Scottsdale Sister Cities. Now, this group, your goal is to promote our city, and you serve as ambassadors of friendship and goodwill with other sister cities around the world. Is that correct?
Yes, that is.
So you accomplish your mission in several ways. From what I have read, you have programs with students, educational programs, cultural programs, economic development exchanges, and really your focus is to create those partnerships, right?
Yes, correct. We have friendships and partnerships with 8 different countries or 8 different communities in 5 different continents. Our goal is to create friendships and better understanding with our partner communities around the world.
And tell us a little bit about yourself and what prompted you personally to get involved with Scottsdale Sister Cities.
Taking you back to 2010, 2011, just like Payton, I was a junior, sophomore at Arcadia High School.
Okay.
I was, new to the world. I didn't have a ton of international exposure. I really just had this curiosity to learn about other people and other cultures. And as someone who's lived in Arizona my entire life, I'm a desert rat.
All right.
I didn't get that exposure. So that was one of the things that, like the travel bug bit me early on. I always wanted to explore and meet other people. So that really launched me into joining my international club, to getting more involved with helping out the exchange students that were joining our high school. Through that, I found this wonderful organization through my international club called Scottsdale Sister Cities. I got involved, and shortly after, I was invited to be an ambassador for Scottsdale in one of our sister cities in Interlaken, Switzerland.
Wow, that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
And here you are today as the director at large of the organization.
Full circle.
Well, that's awesome. Now, how can people get involved? Are there any specific requirements to become part of Sister Cities? Are you looking for certain types of people with different backgrounds?
So anyone and everyone is welcome to join the organization. One thing that we ask for is to have a passion, to have a curiosity for international affairs, for the communities of the world. I think that is, that fire that burns inside of us is one of those things that will help anyone getting involved with Sister Cities get the most out of that experience. We're looking for individuals who you don't need to have know another language. You don't even need to have been brought up in Arizona. It's just anyone with that passion, because everyone brings unique talents and skills. And we really do invite everyone who has that passion or curiosity to learn about the world and the citizens of the world to get involved with Sister Cities. You will get some incredible opportunities to meet people from around the world, to travel internationally. This organization has adult group exchanges as well as student exchanges. Those are just a couple of the different things that we do. But in addition to that, we have events that bring the community together to highlight those awesome things that make Scottsdale so unique. Really, that is where the Sister Cities organization came from. That's where the genesis came from. Scottsdale was a city when it was first formed. Our focus was more agricultural based and, wanting to showcase that. But as our city grew and as we got our charter, City Council wanted to shift the direction of what Scottsdale was known for. And one of those focuses was tourism and really inviting people to explore and to know how beautiful Scottsdale is and all those wonderful things that bring us together. And Sister Cities was one of those integral pieces to kind of help facilitate that.
And I've noticed we have a list of all the sister cities over at Civic Center right outside Scottsdale City Hall. You've mentioned a couple of places, but can you give us the rundown on Scottsdale Sister Cities?
Yes. So we have 8 wonderful sister cities. We've been building these partnerships and friendships since 1970. We have our sister city in Alamos, Sonora, Mexico, Interlaken, Switzerland, Cairns, Australia, Kingston, Ontario, Canada, Haikou, China, Marrakesh, Morocco, Ouagadougou in Africa, and Killarney in Ireland.
And how many of those countries have you had the opportunity to either visit, or how many of those countries have we had representatives come here to Scottsdale?
All of them. So
All
we've,
right.
that's one of the really important things. I'll talk a little bit about what it takes to be a sister city here in a
Okay.
second too. But I've gotten the chance to live in two of those countries. I visited three of those sister cities. I've expanded my travel through this organization. Something I wanted to share really quickly, and just an important piece that completely can be attributed to my experience with sister cities. When I first got involved, I had maybe been to two countries outside of the U.S. Here I am at 30 years old, being able to share that I've just traveled to my 40th country.
Wow.
And that all came from that innate curiosity that was fostered by my participation with this organization.
Probably unfair of me to ask this, but do you have any favorites or any specific experiences from those travels you'd care to share?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest takeaways that I've gathered from my international travel is a greater appreciation for the people of the world. Amidst all these different things, all these things that make us so different, there are so many exciting and amazing things that you discover that make us all so similar. I think that those experiences can only be attained through immersion, through face-to-face, human contact, being able to talk to someone in a room and be able to, smile and, get that experience. Unfortunately, we can't get that as much with Zoom and these digital mediums, but those tools have helped connect people around the world. Traveling, being able to connect with people in other countries, and really just being able to step outside of my comfort zone, taking that curiosity to learn about another culture and turning that to excitement, and really being able to see that, the world is a safe place. People, when you come to their country, when you're a guest in their home, they will greet you with open arms. And that is something that you can read about, you can hear about, but until you experience it, you wouldn't get that understanding and that courage that comes from, that breaking down those barriers. You can only get that through these exchanges and through these experiences.
And when we host visitors, what do you think they're most surprised to learn about our city, or what do they enjoy the most?
I think one of the biggest ones is that people are so surprised to see that we're not just a desert with cacti and, cowboys running around. Obviously, this is your stereotypical kind of idea of what Scottsdale is, but it's such an amazing city and such an amazing community that being able to have people experience that and kind of rewrite those preconceived notions about what our community is and what it looks like, specifically the flavors of our town, our food and all these things. I think those are the biggest whoa, moments for our visitors. But yeah.
That sounds like fun. And to introduce Payton, let me share a little more about her, because I would love to hear from her as well. But Payton was an exchange student she is currently a junior golfer in high school. She aspires to play at the college level. She went on an exchange to Killarney, Ireland over the summer. She was able to experience golf across the Atlantic and also create many memories and new friends. And I believe we hosted a group here as well, correct?
Yes, back in kind of end of October, start of November that week.
So what prompted your interest in the program and to apply in the first place?
So Joanne Gardner, the one who actually started the Ireland Exchange, she had come to all the kind of Scottsdale schools, like the SUSD schools, high schools, and came to our banquet and kind of introduced us back in 2021. I was really interested. I love playing golf, and Ireland is one of the biggest homes of golf in the world.
Right.
So I kind of followed up through her. She explained to us what it was about, and not many people were interested at first because, who's really going to go live in someone's home that they don't really know? But it was a great experience, and so she kind of got me into that, and we hadn't got many people the first year, but then we tried again last year, and a lot more people found entrance into it. So I kind of just applied, went, say, hey, can't hurt. You get to meet new people, and it was a great experience.
Well, first of all, I agree with you. I can't imagine if you're a golfer, especially, but having the opportunity to play there in Ireland. And how long were you there?
We were there for about 10 days. I think we played golf maybe 4 or 5 times.
Great.
So pretty good trip. And then for the other half, we kind of just a few travel days, pretty long flight. But other than that, we kind of explored the town. And Killarney's a lot smaller. So like Raul was saying, with when people come to Scottsdale, a lot of the kids, Aoife, who stayed with me, she was very surprised how many people there actually are and how big the buildings were. Because in Killarney, it's a really kind of small town. It's in the you leave 5 minutes, go 5 minutes west, it's all farmland. So it really was kind of a shock for her because it is so popularized and there's so many buildings and so many things going around at once.
Did you make your trip first and then they came here to Scottsdale, or was it the other way around?
Correct. We went out around June, end of June, and they came out, in November.
So that must have been fun to host someone that you had met and kind of show them our side of the world over here.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Great. So now do you plan to continue remaining? Obviously, you're still involved with Scottsdale Sister Cities, but what are you looking forward to in the future?
Obviously, I'm looking forward to maybe traveling like Raul, going around the places. It really introduced me to this whole international travel and how different all the countries are and how different diversity is and how you can meet new people who are just in the same interest with you.
Anything really stick out from that trip or any favorite parts?
The golf.
The golf, yeah.
The food was really good too. It's pretty fresh food. The only thing is they didn't have ranch, but the food was really good.
But you made do.
I was really disappointed on the ranch.
Ranch and peanut butter. Yeah. That's another thing too that I noticed was limited. But speaking of dressings, I would love to throw in a little fun fact. So our sister city, Kingston in Canada, is actually credited for where Thousand Island dressing came from. So it comes down to the Thousand Islands that are known for, but a little fun fact.
That is a fun fact. And I believe we just had some visitors here during the Parada del Sol, right?
Yeah, so wonderful experience. And what's cool is the Parada del Sol, kind of going back to the history of sister cities in Scottsdale, that was one of those early movements to try to focus and kind of shift some energy towards highlighting the tourism and all the awesome things that Scottsdale has to offer in addition to our agriculture. But yeah, we had the honor and pleasure of welcoming the Kingston delegates and mayor to explore opportunities with Mayo and Sky Song for economic development. So being able to welcome them in a really cool community experience like Parada del Sol, but then also having them take away the benefits and the really awesome conversations with our mayor and whatnot about economic development was really special.
And can you share more about the adult exchanges and how those work?
Yes, of course. To talk a little bit about first how the operation works, sister cities, each sister city has their own committee. And through those committees, we plan and facilitate events, student exchanges, and then adult exchanges. During the adult exchanges, we will travel to any of our 8 sister cities, as well as welcome visitors from any of our 8 sister cities. And really, anyone can get involved with that. All it takes is an innate curiosity to explore, to learn about that culture. Just sign up on our website. That's one of the best ways to stay in the loop with everything we're doing is share your contact on our website. And then that way you can join our newsletter or just stay in touch with all the cool events coming up. Through that involvement, as new opportunities for travel for adult exchanges become available, we invite anyone who's actively involved or just interested in visiting those countries to jump on those opportunities.
And what is your website? Let's share that.
So you can find out more information at scottsdalesistercities.com, or if you want to follow us on Facebook or Instagram, it's Scottsdale Sister Cities.
Perfect. So International Sister Cities actually launched by President Eisenhower in 1956. But can you share some of the history of the program here in Scottsdale? How do cities become sister cities?
Yeah, so that is a really interesting history. When Scottsdale had this pivot where they wanted to focus more on tourism and highlighting how awesome our city was beyond the agricultural components, and we had the city council appoint a group of volunteers that would spearhead these relationships and creating these opportunities. Our first sister city was Alamo, Sonora, Mexico. That friendship started in 1969, but officially became formalized in 1970. Something that's really interesting is actually Scottsdale was the first city in Arizona to have a sister city. So they really set the stage for those international partnerships and became part of the larger network of Sister Cities International. Through that, the way that a sister city comes about is really comes down to, it starts with some curiosity, whether it's a connection or just a group of people who want to learn a little bit more about another city or start, exploring those friendships and those opportunities. From there, we have our leaders, so our city council, as well as the leaders and, the mayor of the corresponding city, have them begin conversations. And we do some exchanges where we go visit them and they visit us and explore those opportunities. And then, if there's an interest on both sides to build that friendship and that partnership, then we have an official document, official agreement between the cities. And that's usually, like I said, done with the volunteers, approved by the city council, and then the local government for our sister city.
And you mentioned your trips to Switzerland. So your first exchange was to Switzerland, and that really made your experience with Scottsdale Sister Cities grow. So what happened after that first exchange?
Really, that's where the travel bug bit me. After having visited Interlaken, Switzerland, and truly making lifelong friends like Payton was highlighting, I needed to go back. I wanted to experience more. I know that the short period of time I was there was not enough. And so I did whatever I needed to do, save some money, this and that, and then had the opportunity to go back and pretty much went back to Switzerland to live and stay with my exact same host family for 7 years, every summer consecutively afterwards. I think I maybe skipped 1 year where my Swiss friends came to live with me here in Arizona. And this is completely self-facilitated. This is outside of our exchange, but this was really cool because those lifelong friendships are still flourishing and thriving to this day. Fast forward to my adult life, now all my friends, my Swiss family, we're all, professional. We were all in school, in high school, when we started, but now everyone's in the workforce. So now we're sharing different type of experiences and, parenting advice and, relationship advice and things like that. My Swiss brother, Jens, just had his first baby not too long ago. And so those just being able to be part of someone's family like that has been really awesome. And so as I reflected on how much my life has been shaped by the Sister Cities experience, it really just, part of me wanted to get more involved. And that's how it came around full circle. Now, as a professional, as a business owner here in Scottsdale and in Arizona, I had this debt of gratitude to pay to the organization. That's why I became more involved. And, I definitely welcome anyone with unique talents or skills to bring those to the table and, be able to pair those with a curiosity of wanting to learn about another culture. And that's what I did. And so my involvement with Sister Cities now is really rooted in this desire to be able to give back to an organization that was so important in my development and be able to help grow the organization to be able to provide more opportunities for like-minded youth, like Payton, when I was in high school, where you're still, the world's your oyster, being able to have these experiences that will truly, in some way, shape, or form, help your development.
And do you have to live in Scottsdale to be part of Scottsdale Sister Cities?
No, you don't. Actually, we have members from all over the city. And there's cities that have their own sister cities, but our organization welcomes everyone.
Part to join on that, I actually live in Phoenix. I just go to school in Scottsdale. So yes, you can.
Yeah, diversity makes us more interesting. So yeah, we definitely welcome everyone. I like Payton. I also live in Phoenix, in the Biltmore, but I went to...
Same as me. Yeah.
So very similar history there. But we love Scottsdale. And I think that being able to give our talents and efforts to Scottsdale Sister Cities is our way of contributing and, building on that curiosity and that wanting to learn about other people and cultures.
And for those who just enjoy traveling, and a lot of people travel, obviously, but what would you say is really the primary difference between maybe taking a trip on your own versus becoming involved in sister cities and traveling on an exchange?
That's an awesome question because I think that there's a very significant difference. First off, every exchange that I've done, and I've done a few different ones, when you go to a different country as a guest, as an ambassador, as a representative of your city, there's a little bit of a sense of pride that comes in, wanting to share your hometown.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, you are treated, like a VIP. You're really treated very specially, and you get opportunities to visit places that you wouldn't otherwise as a tourist. And really also just being able to see the world through the perspective of a local is, I think, one of the most invaluable experiences that you will never be able to find on a tourism website or like booking a package for, travel. So yeah, you'll be able to explore the world. And I encourage everyone to travel as much as they can. But when you're going on exchanges, you really get that opportunity to see the world through different eyes. And I'd love to hear what Payton might, how did your experience, kind of build on that?
So I totally agree with you on the fact you are like a VIP. Many of us, when we went over there, it was pretty much everyone was looking for you. We were in the many newspapers over there as well, and there was people were like, "Oh, you're from Arizona, you're from Scottsdale." So it's a very VIP kind of feel. Like I've traveled to many other places with my family, but it's just not the same as like you're kind of like a tourist. When you're going on an exchange as like an ambassador, you're more with the VIP feel. You get to really learn the things that you wouldn't if you just went and traveled there by yourself. The locals know what they know, so all the good spots, and you really get the good feel of that when being an ambassador, unlike just traveling with like friends or family.
The celebrity status sounds like fun, but as you mentioned, it must be a great feeling too, to also feel like you're representing your community and sharing that with others.
I think when you're traveling normally, a lot of people will ask you at a surface level, like, oh, how's Arizona, or how are the states? But when you're a representative of a city like Scottsdale and abroad, they have a little bit of the understanding or want to learn more, and same curiosity that we have going to these places to experience their life. You, by being like having this invisible badge of an ambassador, people are more open to asking you questions and wanting to like learn more about you, and in this deeper sense of learning about where your background and where you're coming from and the city that you're representing. I'll also put a little plug in for the food. There's no better kitchen, than a home kitchen. And I think that the home cooked meals are some of the most memorable things. Like I can still taste the raclette that my Swiss mom would make. Just an experience I will share really quickly. When we were coming back from school, I vividly remember her going into her garden, cutting this head of lettuce, and making a salad with homemade Dijon dressing. And everything was just so fresh and so homemade. And all that meal, she prepared this meal probably over the course of a few hours that day. And I can tell you that I wouldn't have had that experience at a restaurant. Like,
right.
It's just such a unique thing that can only be facilitated by building those friendships abroad and through exchange.
And you really became part of the family and vice versa. So I can see why you were back there year after year. Now, currently in your director at large position with the organization, is that a volunteer role?
Yes, completely. So our whole organization is volunteer run. It comes from like-minded individuals who just want to give back. But yeah, like I said, we welcome anyone who has that curiosity and maybe a talent to bring to the table to get involved, just like myself, because we really wouldn't be able to make this happen, and we wouldn't be able to provide these awesome opportunities for students and community members and business members alike in our community if it wasn't for the volunteers that are working tirelessly in the background, creating these partnerships, creating these friendships, and helping welcome the awesome visitors that come and visit us and experience our town.
Your funding, how does that work? How do you fund these educational programs, these exchanges, and the things that you do as an organization?
We, being a volunteer organization, we're a nonprofit organization. So we are primarily funded by the support of our from our city. So City of Scottsdale provides grants. But what really it's donations, it's fundraising. We, with our art exchanges, we facilitate the sale of beautiful art pieces here in Arizona from our sister cities, for example, from Wasangishu. That we have some incredible artists through our art exchanges there. And so fundraising, donations. But yeah, all the students' exchanges as well, those are all, self-funded. So the students are out here doing awesome things to build those funds. I'd love to ask Payton about some of the things that she had to do to make her trip possible.
The biggest thing we did for fundraising, basically, is because we did go on a golf exchange, we decided to have a golf tournament to raise money. So everyone has, charity golf tournaments. So basically, it was the four of us. We played as a team, but then the Scottsdale Sister Cities Association really got out there and went and got donations of what people could, bid for in an auction for raising money. Many people played in the tournament. There was prizes for the winners. We actually won, but
surprise!
Yeah.
I'm not too shocked by that.
Shocker with that one. But so basically, the golf tournament was one of the main fundraisers, and it really just brought a lot of people together because golf's such a big thing in Scottsdale where everyone wanted to help out. They heard about this great thing where kids get to go play in Ireland. So the golf tournament was one of the main ways we really raised money. So that was probably the best way.
Makes sense and sounds like a lot of fun.
Yes.
Payton, I know you've traveled a lot, but this exchange, we touched on how they're a little different, and you stayed with a host family. What was that experience like?
So it was great. I was, to say, a little, you're a little scared. You're like 5,000 miles away from home. So it was a little shocking the first night, but I haven't really been homesick that much in my life. I just say, oh, if I go to sleep, it's one day closer, or I'm doing this the next day. So it's just a fun thing to think about. But it definitely was a lot of fun. Aoife, she had 3 siblings, so they're all kind of younger siblings. So it's just like, if I made fun of it, like had fun, but just thought of the positives in it, it made it a lot better of not thinking about home, because if I go home, be like, oh, I'm at home and not in Ireland anymore. So really, the family was great. They really brought me like a family feel, and they really made sure I was well taken care of. So it's just a great experience that I got to go over there with a great family. They always made sure I was fed, always made sure I was well cared for. The food is one of the best parts. We didn't eat that much food with the family, I will say, because we really had a really busy itinerary. That's what they like to do with Scottsdale Sister Cities. If you go on the exchange, they're really going to pack stuff in for you. But even when we did have meals, it was really great. They were always very high key on if I ate enough with like the food. Usually I just ate toast that morning because I'm not a big egg person. And so they were like, are you sure you don't want anything more? We're going to send toast next time when Aoife comes. So I was like, I'm okay. But they were really just great staying with them. Really made me feel like a whole nother family.
How do you find the families as part of the exchange program? And are those participants vetted?
First and foremost, all our sister cities, all 8 of our sister cities are what we call safe cities. So it wouldn't be a sister city if it's not somewhere where, we would be comfortable receiving and then also sending our representatives, our citizens, abroad. That's one thing that, that Payton was highlighting is, these, you feel safe. You're very welcomed. And when it comes to the sister cities and the vetting process, it is really a lengthy process to really establish that mutual understanding, that mutual desire to put our best foot forward on both sides. Whatever the category falls, whether it's a sport exchange, an art exchange, a cultural exchange, a knowledge-based exchange, those are kind of the core reason why we create those exchanges. But at the end of the day, it's to break down those barriers of safety, of, hey, maybe there's preconceived notions about, security and safety in Africa. Well, let's go and bring our citizens to a beautiful city down there so that we can come back and have real life testimonials to be able to share how safe they felt and how welcome they felt. No matter how different we are, there are always those things that we can learn from each other that bring us together, that make us so similar, while praising and highlighting and cherishing our differences. Everyone's vetted, the families are vetted, the cities are vetted. That's exactly what we come down to, creating these partnerships, these friendships that otherwise maybe not be so super common or traditional.
Right. And it sounds like another great benefit to becoming involved and working with others for these types of exchanges versus just kind of going out on your own to travel somewhere you may not be familiar with. So Scottsdale Sister Cities Association, part of your work involves working with students in our Scottsdale schools and encouraging students to learn more about your programming and become involved one way is through the international clubs. Can you share more about that?
Yeah, that's one of the first means of exposure. That's one of the ways that I got involved with my exchange in the first place. So, we touched a little bit about how we welcome, all adults and, business leaders and community leaders to get involved. But one core driver of our membership is our students, and our students can get involved through their international clubs. 5 of our SUSD high schools in the Valley have volunteer-run international clubs, and they get like exclusive access, and they're the first to know about upcoming exchanges. So I would definitely recommend all students to, at minimum, get involved with that, because you'll meet a lot of the international students at your high school that way. But then through there, you'll hear about the awesome things that we're doing. Beyond that, if your school doesn't have an international club, get involved with Sister Cities directly. We have awesome opportunities both for adults, but also for students to be able to meet like-minded individuals and explore those cool opportunities that you get to travel, to try different food, to just meet with people who are interested in the same type of things as you are.
And we talked a lot about that in-person interaction. I can imagine that, we just coming out of the pandemic now, what type of challenges were you facing as an organization during that time? Because I imagine that must have put a lot of change into how you operate and some of your programming.
Yeah, I think that everyone's really experienced change, but I think that change, and anytime things become difficult, that creates opportunities. I've learned that from my travel, from business, but I think specifically for Sister Cities, we saw that as an opportunity to make the world a smaller place. And we utilized technology and things like being able to jump on a FaceTime call or Zoom call with our colleagues and our friends from around the world. And so although we were seeing limited travel and restrictions being placed, just obviously for the topic of safety and health, we weren't able to do the exchanges in person. That opened up the opportunity to explore other ways to be able to bridge that gap to make the world a smaller place. And so being able to FaceTime and call our friends. And I think that that's something that's really interesting because as the organization that's been around since the 70s has shifted and evolved as well, the implementation of new technologies has allowed us to be able to expand our mission and be able to do that in a way that just makes it easier for everyone.
Sure. And it makes sense that as the world has changed, some of those pivots have occurred. What do you have on the calendar for 2024?
So yeah, there's a lot of exciting things coming up. First, I would just invite anyone who is interested in learning about what things are coming up, even if this podcast, if you're listening to this later on, all the most relevant upcoming events would be found on our website. But just to highlight a few really exciting things, for all our sister cities, we have happy hours that are coming up where you can just meet people who have the same interest, have been to, or visitors from those different cities or countries. We have art exchanges, we have music and cultural exchanges coming up, as well as trips for adults. So we have a trip to Interlaken, Switzerland, which is a city that I lived in, coming up in the fall. So definitely check that out and see all the cool things that are coming up. I would just like to personally invite anyone who's listening to this to feel free to join us at any of these upcoming events that you see on our calendar. We welcome everyone. Yeah, that's just a great way to meet like-minded individuals.
And it sounds like you offer a lot of variety and you're inviting people with different types of interests to become involved. In fact, we didn't mention this earlier, but with Payton's experience and being part of that student golf exchange, that was the first time that Scottsdale Sister Cities ever held an exchange based on sports. So that was kind of a big deal. And it's really cool that you got to be a part of that.
Yeah, it was great. Like just having the opportunity to go play the sport you love with some new people you've never met before just created like such a great time. Like I know I'm still friends with all of them. We still all talk about golf. Some of them, this guy, his name's Ryan. He's even trying to come over and play golf in college here. So it's really just like bringing these opportunities together where they see these Scottsdale courses in Arizona too, and they're like, oh, I need to play these.
Right.
So It's kind of like a flip thing where golf just brought us even closer together.
Sports is, like you were saying, Holly, is one of our recent Sister Cities exchange topics. But we have some, obviously adult trips, student trips. We've had our fire department go visit Alamos or Interlaken and had them come over here. So it's been really cool to be able to expand not only student exchanges, adult exchanges, but then art, pen pals, sports, and many more other things.
So a lot of opportunities to get involved, learn about the world around us, and make some new friends, it sounds like.
Yes, yeah.
And share the website with us one more time.
ScottsdaleSisterCities.com.
Great, because that's where you can go and find all the information about what we talked about today. There's more about the Scottsdale Sister Cities, more about the events coming up. Anything else you'd like to share that we didn't cover?
If you have the opportunity to go visit somewhere extravagant, go do it. It's the best experience that I have ever done so far in my life, and I encourage other people to do it just because you're meeting new people and exploring places with new people.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Payton. You're really making lifelong friends and obviously unforgettable experiences.
Well, I appreciate that you both took the time to come into our studio and share more about Scottsdale Sister Cities. And I hope we have some listeners who take you up on your offer and become involved because it's a great program. And we, as the city of Scottsdale, really appreciate what you do to represent our city, our organization, and what you do for our community. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
That's all for this episode of Podsdale. If you enjoyed listening, be sure to subscribe. You can find us on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Feel free to share your thoughts and experiences with us by emailing communications@scottsdaleaz.gov. We would love to hear from you. Until next time, this is Holly Walter signing off and inviting you to be part of the Scottsdale story.